I am so excited to have my guest here because I told you guys I'm a huge fan of her work, and I am so honored to have you. Kelsey, welcome to Head on the Loose.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to connect.
I am so excited as well because I think I told you off before we started shooting Cat on the Loose that I've been following your work for quite a while now. I think your videos are absolutely incredible. Your energy is contagious, even through social media. Now that I'm looking at your face in the Zoom call, it's even more. And you're so gorgeous, so talented. It's like a huge pleasure and honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a huge pleasure to have you reach out to me. So I'm so excited.
I want to start by asking you because I know we talk to many times we talk to people and we don't know how they figure out their abilities. When was it in your life they were like, wow, I have all this intuition, this is my calling, this is what I should be doing? How do you find out?
So everyone has intuitive psychic abilities. It's just, I think the difference is sometimes people have these antennas that are already, pre-programmed where it makes people a little bit more sensitive to intuitive information or downloads, whatever it may be. So I think I always kind of had this super, super strong intuition, especially when it came to, sensing people's emotions and, how they were feeling without, them even communicating. And I feel like a lot of really empathic people sometimes, in childhood, it's really like maybe you're trying to detect how people in your environment, how they feel, and it makes you very sensitive to emotional undercurrents in your wherever you are raised environmentally. And this can kind of help your intuition grow or expand in different ways. So I feel like since I was little, I always was just very keen. I just always was so intrigued by just magic. I always felt that I was like more to life and that this was not just the only thing that was here. So as a child, I had gifts and but I pushed them down until I think maybe I was 19 or 20 because I kind of was a little bit afraid of them. And I didn't really trust myself or trust my intuition or trust my gifts. So I feel like though I really started to tap into it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So
Do you have a moment like how does it feel to you? For example, you're going about your day, right? Do you have a moment that you feel like the universe is sending you a message? You're like, okay, this is the moment, this is the message I gotta tell someone?
right. I feel like the thing with intuition is sometimes people think it's going to be this grand scheme of like, oh, I received this sign from the universe and it was this massive thing. But I feel like as intuitive beings, we're constantly just getting these little drops of information throughout our days all the time. But a lot of it maybe is going unaware or we're unconscious of it. But I feel like so many people have a really hard time discerning between, oh, is this anxiety? Is this anxious thoughts? Or is this my intuition? So I feel like whenever we have these drops of information, that it feels like they almost just come in so naturally and they're peaceful and they come from a place of our heart, then those are the moments where you're like, okay, like this is something like a gut instinct, like feeling it in, because like, those anxious thoughts, it's like something that feels like very maybe strong, but like in an anxious way or a fearful way. So I feel like, it's your intuition 100% when it comes from just this place of like loving intelligence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that can be different from different people. Some people, hear things, some people see images, some people will taste things or feel things, or they just have this inner knowing. So it's truly, truly different from each person's experience. But I also think we live in a time where we have so much external stimuli where it makes people have a really hard time connecting with their intuition and their gifts because it's filled with so much static, whether it's from our phone, our work, career, stress, and all these different things, even physical clutter. Say that you live in a really cluttered space or you have a lot of things kind of lingering in your space or energetically, whether it's emotional or physical. These are all things that kind of can cloud our intuition at the end of the day. So I think if someone's trying to connect more with their intuition and get those intuitive insights and messages, it really has to come from a place of getting still and getting quiet and maybe even doing like some purging, some purification internally and externally. But
Yeah, which is really hard. Do you ever see someone like, I don't know, you're walking on the street or you go to an event or something? Do you ever walk by someone and you feel like, oh my God, there's something I want to say to this person, or I feel something about this person? Does that ever come to you?
yes, it does. But the thing I with intuition and gifts and things like that is it's almost like sometimes you don't want to like eavesdrop on people's energy, if that makes sense. So it's really hard to decipher, like, if I have clients or if I have someone that's super interested in receiving information, obviously I'm like, that's a green light. But when it comes to, I'm at the grocery store, maybe I'll pick up something, but then I'm also like very cognizant of, okay, is this something that this person needs to know or be aware of? And sometimes no, like sometimes it'll be no, like it's not like it's just sometimes you're just so open. But yeah, it depends on if it's something that I feel like I'm needing to share, I suppose.
Yeah, on your videos, I love that you always say that, like when you're reading, and we're going to talk about the cards. When you're reading the cards, you always say like, if this video found you now, maybe this message is for you. Maybe this is something this person needs to hear, or this is the right time for you.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm not sure if I'm intuitive, but I believe in energy so much, and I believe the universe keeps sending us signs every day, all the time. And it's kind of like you said, it's up to us if we want to pay attention to the signs or not. And that's why I connected so much with your work, because sometimes I was just scrolling and doing my work on social media, and your video came to me. And many times I related exactly something that meant something to me. So when you're doing these videos, do you, so I mean, how do you, because you always say that, like, maybe it's for a person, maybe it's not for that person. So how do you recommend somebody that maybe they're skeptical about what you do, about everything that we're talking about? Should they listen to it based on how they feel? What would you say to someone that doesn't know how to react to your videos?
I think discernment is key when you're watching any video on the internet, right? But I always have the intention when I'm filming videos is what does this person need to know? What do they need to hear? I always feel like, it's having that discernment of do you think that this person is coming from a good place, good intentions? Because I'll say it, tarot, manipulation, magic is like such a thing now on social media where maybe people are not having the best intentions, right? When they're sharing these messages. And I think that's the biggest thing is how do you feel about the person that's giving you this message? And I think also not trying to make a puzzle piece fit together if it's not actually relevant in your life, right? So actually having that discernment with yourself. Okay, does this situation actually align with what is going on in my life, or am I wanting it to relate to my life? So I'm trying to create this narrative. So I think that's why I really take posting videos seriously and like what comes out and what comes forward and having a good intention behind it, because at the end of the day, maybe someone does just need, to see that and have some hope. And maybe they just need some light at the end of the day, which I think is great. But it all comes down to how do you feel internally when you see these messages, because you'll know at the end of the day if something is truly, truly, truly meant for you.
Yes, I agree 1,000,000%. That's how I feel. And I have a lot of friends that follow your work too.
Oh,
I have a line of people that want to do private readings with you.
oh, I love that.
Because I agree with you. There's a lot of crap out there. Unfortunately, comes with the territory. A lot of dishonest people, not just in your
Right.
area of work, in any area of work for that matter. But I think it's a gut feeling and it's a vibe that you feel with someone if they're really serious. Like in your case, immediately, and all my friends say the same thing. By the way, it's not just me. They're like, "Wow, she's so real. She's so serious about what she does." So I think you kind of like gotta pick, like you said, who you trust and who you
Mhm.
believe in. Obviously,
Yes.
you're very serious about your work.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, one person might really resonate with my readings, and another person might be completely no, like that's not resonant with me. So I think also we attract our tribe. It's the same thing with your podcast. You probably attract so many people who have gone through the same things as you and experience simultaneously the same things that you're going through in their daily life. So it's truly just like, I feel like who we're kind of like in vibration with, in a sense, is who we're really going to connect with at the end of the day too. So
Yeah, I agree 1,000,000%. Do you do readings like every day? Do you feel like, oh, this is the right time for it? How does it come to you?
well, for my astrology girlies out there, I have a Cancer moon in my 12th house at like 29 degrees. So I am like a energetic sponge. Like I take on like everything around me at all times, my clients' energies. I go to the grocery store, relationships, whatever it might be. Like if you have it, I have it. So I do clients every day, but if there's a day where I feel just energetically burnt out, I'm like, okay, I have to respect my energetic boundaries, because and then I'm also not giving the client what they deserve, essentially. So at the end of the day, it comes down to how I feel, but I'm channeling most days, every day, even if it's subconsciously. So
Because I see you, I think you post on social media every day, right?
I try to post frequently. Sometimes it is daily. Sometimes I'm like, okay, like a few times a week, but it's never like I'm not going a week without posting. So
Must, like you said, it must make you, I don't know, mentally tired after a while,
yes.
especially if you're doing one-on-one readings, right?
Mhm.
You're
Yes.
talking about like set people's lives and intuition and signs from the universe. It must be like exhausting after a while.
It is like so I was in nursing school before this. I worked at the hospital during COVID. And I always tell people like doing all of that is nothing compared to what it is channeling, because it's so mentally exhausting. I mean, I love what I do, right? It's for the higher greater of people and I want to help them. And I do it from such a good place. But sometimes I am like, wow, I have no more mental power to give. I am like sleepwalking. So I think also that's us having to listen to our bodies, though. Like it's the same thing if you're burnt out at a job where there's physical labor or manual labor, or even just talking, or whatever it might be, just working and overextending ourselves, which we all do, especially in this time of reality. It's more so just really needing to listen to your body and what it truly needs, because some people are like, or even I, like if I'm really tired, I'm like, oh, maybe I just need to like sit on the couch today. But really, it's like my body actually needs maybe something else. So it's like really actually listening to what you need to recharge at the end of the day. But yeah, it can get tiring, it can get exhausting, but it's so worth it at the end of the day. So I feel like, you know, it's
You're
it's
doing a lot of good for sure.
yeah.
So when you're doing a private reading, can you talk us through it just a little bit? Like for, I know there's a lot of people out there, they want to do it. Some people are actually afraid of doing it because they think like, what if she sees something bad?
Right.
Hard.
Yeah. So I think the tarot is it's what we need to hear. It's not what we want to hear. So I think if you're interested in getting a reading done from anyone, is to be completely open minded, but also know that there might be some truths that maybe you're either not ready to hear, not wanting to hear, or ignorance is bliss, right? So it's almost like, what are your intentions coming into the reading? And I think this goes for any spiritual work, is how open are you truly to receiving the information that needs to come to you, or are you going to maybe push this away? I think nothing ever is going to cause fear, because I would never want to instill fear in anyone. So I would never be like, oh my gosh, you have this thing that's going to happen to you and it's all going to crumble and fall apart. No, I would never say that. I think if someone had a change coming into their lives that was maybe going to be unexpected or an upheaval of some sort, these are always things that ultimately happen for our greatest good, revelations, wake up calls. So I think at the end of the day, as long as you have an open mind and you're not blocking yourself off. So let's say like you pay for an intuitive session with someone, but internally you're actually completely closed off and you already don't believe in what they do, then that's going to kind of create like a block for the person that's trying to tap into your energy. So
Yeah, I think that's an important point because if you have to be open-minded to believe.
Hmm.
Like I said, for me, I believe so much in energy and the signs that the universe sends to me. And I think it has to start with us, right? Before talking to an astrologer, a psychic, whatever it is. Because, like you said, if the person comes like, oh my God, I don't believe anything, then why would you even bother, right?
Right. And you have to be open too. Like you said, like you have to know that, let's say, we always know what's right for us deep down at the end of the day. We always have gut instincts about relationships and people, but sometimes we have these, like soul contracts where we have like these pre-birth agreements that we have between other souls in our lifetimes and relationships. And we're meant to be in these relationships or these experiences for as long as we orchestrated before we came here. And we kind of had this amnesia where we just forgot everything.
Mhm.
So I also think it's important where maybe we feel like a cycle in our life. We know the lesson we're meant to learn from this. We know the pattern that's here, but we all have free will at the end of the day as well, right?
Yeah.
So we're co-creating with the universe, God, whatever you believe in. So it's also like sometimes we're in these things in our lives where maybe we know deep down they're not meant for us, but there's something to learn. There's a lesson that's meant to be learned. So it's also like, okay, are we open to learning this lesson and looking in the mirror? Because a lot of the times too, maybe someone will come to a session and, like, am I meant to be with this person? Well, it's at the end of the day, are you actually really wanting to be with this person? So it's also like really looking in the mirror, I think. Like I say, like I feel like sometimes I'm like an unlicensed therapist
Oh,
where
for sure.
it's like, what can we do to be open to these experiences? But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about as well. So
Oh my God. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people, I know they come to you because I know I have girlfriends like that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go to a card reader. And they expect very specific answers. Like you said,
right.
is this the right guy for me? Am I gonna make a lot of money next month? Am I gonna be rich? Am I gonna get married? So is that like reasonable to expect such specific answers? I think it's more like a broad picture, right?
Well, here's the thing, energy is changing. We're in control ultimately of our destiny because we do have that free will, whether we like it or not. Yes, there are certain things in our lives that are prearranged and predestined, like our relationships and maybe our purposes and the lessons that we want to learn in these lifetimes. But when it comes to like, oh, am I going to get married? The answer it's so broad because yes, but and then Tara was going to say, well, there's this huge block that we have right now. So let's dissect this. Let's focus on this and do the things that we need to do, which, we don't like to hear that a lot of the times. People we don't want to hear that there's work to be done or it's not the right time yet. And even though it'll all make sense one day, it'll come together. But I think the questions I really like to see is like what's currently maybe in the way of me attracting a partner that's going to be fulfilling, because then we can look and see, okay, what's in the way, what's causing this blockage, and then we can really bring light to that. So I think it's, yes, like specific questions are really good, but like specific broad questions can be the energy will be all over the place because yes, maybe they're going to show me this specific person that's in your future, but there's also all of these things that we have to dissect first.
I see. That's super interesting. So, I forgive me because I don't know a lot about the subject, and it's just a lot of questions that I have, and people send over all the time. When you're reading the cards to someone, does that have does our sign when we were born and all of these things that you said, like which planets and all this stuff, does that influence a lot what we're going through at any given moment of our lives?
So I believe 100% yes, especially if you're very intuitive, energetically sensitive, aware, you're going to be a lot more in tune with the astrological events that are constantly unfolding because it's so specific to you and even the world as a whole, right? We're constantly being affected by energetic undercurrents. So yes, 100% we're all being affected all the time, but I think like if anyone is like a really true skeptic and they're like I always just say, I'm like, just ask for a sign. Like literally ask for the most specific sign you can think of, like a like an apple, like let's say, okay, if I'm on the right path, if you're here, if I'm, doing what I'm meant to be doing, show me an apple. And it's like the next day, or maybe even a few minutes, a week later, there will be like a huge apple that will be put in front of your face. So I always say, like, if you want to know how supported and loved and watched over you are on a daily basis and how truly connected you really are to the mystical realm, then all you have to do is ask and just put that intention out there. So
I agree. I agree. Because like I said, for me, as my life evolved and I think I became more and more in tune with
right.
my energy, I started seeing more and more signs all the time, and they just guide me. They help me find out, for me, if I'm in the right path, if I'm making a mistake, if this is so. I totally believe it works. I
Mhm.
like magic. People think it's crazy, but if you get in tune with your sense, I don't know if it's energy, I don't know what it is, but it really starts working incredibly well.
Yes. If you believe in it and you're open, and I feel like it also makes life fun at the end of the day, because we're so caught up in just the hustle and bustle and, analytical little things in our lives now, where we're so disconnected from nature, magic, whatever it might be. And I just feel like believing in that, it just brings more pleasure into our day-to-day lives, because at the end of the day, I feel like we all need something to believe in, whether it's big or small. So, I mean, it really is a beautiful thing at the end of the day. So,
I agree. Do you have any ideas you could give people, like somebody out there listening to us, and you were talking about that it's important to be in tune with your emotions and connect
mhm.
and pay attention to what's going on. Any ideas? Someone like, okay, I want to be like you girls. I want to be more in tune with the universe, with what's going on. Is there any exercise that people can do? I don't know, like a mental exercise, anything else?
So I think, like I mentioned earlier, like I said, just our days and our lives are just constantly filled with so much static, stimuli, distractions, scrolling, stress. All of this stuff kind of blocks us from our intuition. There's even times where I'm completely disconnected. There's stuff that's blocking me. No one's constantly just, you know, channeling at least in an effective way if we're blocked. So I think like the biggest thing that really exerted me on my spiritual journey was meditation. I think that completely changed my life. And I know people are like, oh, I can't sit down because I'm just thinking constantly. I can't just sit down. It's like, actually, like, you thinking while you're meditating actually is really good. Like, what are you thinking about? Like, this could be great things. It's not all about just quieting the mind, but I think just like taking that time just for ourselves, maybe putting the phone down, maybe doing some journaling, taking a salt bath, connecting with earth, connecting with nature, doing a dance class. It's different for different people, but I think just those things are we're fully in our bodies rather than being so in our thoughts, in our mind. Those are the things that when we're in our body grounded, that those intuitive veins will start to awaken or be heightened.
Yeah. So this year in general, do you have any messages that you can tell us now, like that you see for the upcoming months or for the upcoming weeks, anything at all?
So, intuitively and like astrologically speaking, there's a lot of new energy that's happening this year. And this year, I feel like for me, is I just keep getting this visual of like a caterpillar, like coming out of the cocoon and coming out of this like where it's very uncomfortable. It might be very, unsettling at first, but we're really being pushed to like get out of our comfort zones that are maybe no longer fulfilling us or no longer serving us, where maybe we've been staying in, but they're not necessarily feeding our souls. So it feels like this year, even astrologically, like we're really getting pushed to kind of see how we can expand and how we can specifically step into our power, right? So it's a year of what it feels to be like stepping into power, stepping into gifts, stepping into purposes, expansion. So it's almost like analogy that I'm getting is if you've been working a 9 to 5 that you really don't like, it's not really serving you. Maybe you're staying there for financial obligations, whatever it might be. This year in specific, it feels like we're really being pushed to step into our soul's purpose. And whether that's a job, a relationship, career, environment. There's a lot of change that seems to be facilitated, this year in
Yeah.
particular. So
I feel that way too. It's funny because last year, the end of last year, I was watching some of your videos, and I'm saying that not even because you're here, because I said that to my friends before today. I a lot of the things you said in terms of change, in terms of things that I was gonna go through in my life, they were like right spot on in my journey. Like I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. Like I looked at a lot of, and I felt I was like on this precipice of these changes and the change in energy and the things that this year was going to bring. And I'm like, wow, this is like exactly what's going on for me.
yeah.
You
I
know,
think we're really being pushed on like the things that we know that we need to change. It's almost like the call is going to get louder, louder, and louder this year, I think, until we can no longer suppress it or deny it. So it's really just the universe, like I feel like giving us a huge push this year to really maybe look in the mirror also and do like this reflection, this awakening. So it feels exciting, but it also feels a little bit kind of chaotic in like the astrological senses because there is so much new energies where, planets have been in the same sign for maybe 20 years. These are changing. So it's like, really, what is there to expect, So
yeah, that's what I heard. So before I let you go, talking a little bit more about astrology, I know I'm going to get 10,000 billion questions about this, but I'm trying to, just put in the most important ones. Most people like me, we know our sign, right? Okay, I was born in March, I'm a Pisces, but they don't know like the extra details. Like you said, oh, I'm a moon ascendant, this and that. And these things affect a lot, right? Our ascendant sign, the time you were born, which planet was there. Do you recommend for people like me, of course, that we really believe and we really want to be in tune with the universe? Is it a good idea to do your more complete astrological map to really figure out more about yourself and your personality?
100%, because we're not just one sign, and there's so many different things that are constantly, affecting us on a daily basis. And I'm a Sagittarius, but I have all these other aspects in me that it's, that are constantly affecting. So I think even going online and, looking up your birth chart for free, you can get free astrological, readings on there. You can, do a one-on-one with an astrologist, and it's just so much deeper information. So like, I'm a Sagittarius, according to Google. I just love to travel. I love to learn, and I'm a do this and a free spirit, and I'm blunt and all this stuff. But that's just like a tiny little fraction of who you truly are at your core. And you can get so much valuable information. I mean, even things about like your childhood, like specific events that have happened in your life. It's very interesting how much it is all connected.
How much it affects you, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So can you tell people where they can do this for free online? Because I'm sure most people don't know.
I think if I can't specifically, I think there's one that's called Cafe Astrology. They have like free reports. You just need to know the time you were born, where you were born, the day. And like that will pull up a complete chart for you, but it also like actually explains the planets. I even know like on Etsy, there's birth chart readings that can be really accommodating. But I think at the end of the day, maybe just starting and looking at the information that you can get yourself, I think that's a great starting point. That's where I started. So,
But is it better to do it with an astrologer that the person trusts?
I think if you want to just read for yourself, I think that's great because it will give you like a whole report when you look it up for free. It will explain certain things for you, and maybe that will be enough for someone, right? That'll be all they need. I think if you want to understand how astrology is affecting you right now and how astrology is going to affect you maybe in the next year, booking with an astrologist could be really helpful because then they can look at your personal transits in your chart.
Yeah. So how often do you recommend? Because I know some people go crazy. I have a friend, she wants to see an astrologer like every week, twice a week. Everything that happens in her life, she's like, I gotta read the cards. I gotta read. I'm like, okay, maybe that's a bit much. I don't know. How how much do you recommend someone?
Well, so we have free will, right? I like barely even read for myself. I'm just like, whatever, it's up to you. Like, I don't want to know what's going to happen, really. Just like hit me with it. But people that I feel like I would say, like, especially tarot readings, I think like once a month, every few months, once a year. I have people that just come for me for their yearly little check-ins, and that's enough. So I think intuitively it's really up to you, but I also think that we don't want to rely on external things. We really want to kind of trust ourselves at the end of the day too to navigate situations.
Yeah, totally. So maybe once a week, you would say is the most, right? That if somebody really, really wants to do that, once a week would be okay.
Right. I think if you're not expecting energy to change drastically, because if you're getting a reading done every week, then maybe some of the same things, because spirit, angels, guardian angels, whatever you believe in, if there's something that they want you to know, it's going to continuously be put in your face, and we're not going to get any other messages. So,
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. So you do private readings, right?
yes.
Other than, well, tell me, your Instagram is Divine Kelcie, Instagram and TikTok, because now TikTok is back. You put, you put the same videos on both, correct?
Yes. Yes. And I have a YouTube I just started maybe it's been a year ago now, and that's Divine Kelcie too. And I share a lot longer videos on there. So I really enjoy doing that actually as well.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm going to start following on you immediately. Because I have to say, guys, if you're listening to the audio episode, do me a huge favor and go right now to my Instagram, to YouTube, Cat on the Loose podcast. Look at her face. Because I'm going to tell you, and to me, this is all about energy. I don't know. When I wake up in the morning and I go, I'm not a big scroller. Like, I don't follow a lot of people. I follow like people that I pay attention to. When I look at your videos and your beautiful face and your smile, it just makes my day better already, because it's the energy that comes from you.
Thank you so much. That's like bringing tears to my eyes. I'm like, I just love hearing that. And I love that through social media and through these platforms, we're able to just connect. And I feel you probably feel the same. It's incredible. It's a beautiful thing. So
Exactly. It makes me so happy. It's like my favorite thing about doing the podcast is because I connect with the most incredible people in the world, such as yourself, and then I get to share it with a worldwide audience. Like literally somebody right now in Australia can find you, England, Brazil, wherever it is that they are. And I think it connects us. And to me, if you believe in energy, it's all about energy. So go check out her pages, go see her face, follow her work. And if somebody wants to do one-on-one with you, because like I said, I have a list of people that are going to reach out. How do they go through the Insta? How do they reach out to you?
So I do offer personal readings on Etsy, and which all these links are in my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube. So if you want to interested in a personal reading, that's how we would kind of go forward. I also offer Reiki sessions, so like energetic healing sessions, which could be really good as well. So, but otherwise, just connecting through videos and stuff is also amazing.
Yeah. So all your links, if somebody wants to book, they can just go there, click and book a one-on-one.
Yes.
I'm going to be one of the first ones in line.
I can't wait. Yeah.
I've been wanting to do it forever and ever. And you know how we're always so busy, right? And many times we postpone this, but I was like, no, I'm going to do the episode with her. And then my sister, like, I want to talk. My sister knew you before I told her about you.
Oh, I love that.
Coincidence. When I showed her like who I was going to have on the show, she was like, oh my God, I've been following Kelcie forever. I love her.
Oh my God. That's like so amazing, because I live in an area that's like very rural and like but when I go to places that's like cities and I get recognized, I'm always like, oh, I guess like I guess I'm not just posting on the abyss on the internet.
No, you're not. You have a huge following that loves you. You have an open invitation to come to LA anytime you want.
I would love that.
You're more than welcome to. And then we can do another one in person at the studios. But you're adorable. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your fantastic work, because I feel you do it from your heart.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that, and it vice versa, it seems. So
yeah, I think that's the most important thing, right? Because like you said, a lot of people do things for the wrong reasons. They're just like money hungry.
Exactly. Power hungry.
We feel it. Like I feel if the vibe is off. I've had people on the show in the past that I was like, oh my God, the vibe of this person is so off. I don't want to have nothing to do with this person.
Because you're intuitive. You're a Pisces. So you know.
Although we have to tune my intuition about dating.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though with dating. Like even I know when someone's bad for me, but like you
We
know?
don't follow it. We don't always follow it. But this is why last week I did last week I did an episode about that we have to follow our first gut instincts.
Yes, we always know. We always know women's intuition is so on point. And if you have to convince someone that they're good for you, you already have the answer.
Yeah. And I think that gut that we talk about, right? The gut feeling is usually probably our instinct about
Yes, 100%.
right? No, this person is not for you. And if we ignore that, that's not going to go away.
It'll just, like anything, it'll get louder and louder until we're finally like, okay, we can't ignore this anymore. Or something will happen that will make us be like, okay, now I have to walk away. So
Exactly. That's what happened to me last year. I'm not going to make that mistake anymore. Don't ignore our intuitions because, like you said, a lot of us have strong intuitions, and the ones that don't, you can always fine tune it, right?
yes, but it seems like just even talking to you, it just energetically feels like you love to see the good in people. So it's like you see all the good, and then you're like, well, like, yes, there's all these things that I feel, but I want to be loved. I want to give love. So I'm gonna ignore what I'm feeling because I want this to be it, right? And like that's so many of us. Like,
Yeah.
and it's all part of our lesson. It's all part of the pain and the struggle. And it's we get sent the people we need, not the people we want. So don't beat yourself up about it because it's okay.
No, everything in life is a lesson, right? I think we learn and we get better and better and better. But I do think our first intuition, and I'm not just talking about dating, I'm talking about anything.
Yes.
If you're going to do business with someone, if you're going to be friends with someone, like if something tells you like that's not good, like listen to that little click in your head,
Yes.
like don't push it.
Yes, 100%. And even if it's funny too, because sometimes if we do ignore those initial gut instincts, whether it's a week or a month or a year later, we're like, I knew all along. Why did I ignore my intuition?
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you so much.
gorgeous. It was such an honor having you, and hopefully we'll invite you back for another episode because
Yes, thank you so much. It was so nice to be on here. So
yeah, this is gonna be one of the episodes that I get the most questions about. So guys, shoot. We have open lines of communication 24/7. Contact at catondaloose.com via WhatsApp 305-322-0338. So if you have more questions for her, go do a private reading with her or shoot and we'll have her come back for another episode. Thank you, Kelcie. You're gorgeous. You're lovely. We really appreciate you so much. Guys, be safe out there and follow your instinct.